5 reasons why the stock Toyota Tacoma is not built for off-roading. Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome back to the channel. Hey, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why the stock Tacoma isn't built for off-roading, and I know I might get a lot of flack for this, but I got to thinking, you know, I have the Tacoma up on the lift, I get to looking around underneath, and it just seems to me that we've been a little bit slighted, if you will. And I think that's because Toyota is trying to build their trucks as off-road capable. I mean, I have the off-road version, right? It's called the Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road. But I would say, and I would argue, that it's not really designed for off-road. And you know, Toyota knows that 96, maybe higher % of the people that buy a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and I'm speaking of 4-wheel drives here, don't ever take them off-road. So they can go a little light on the off-roading gear, if you know what I mean. So let's start off. First of all is the height of the Tacoma, the stock height. Now, obviously, mine is lifted. I've got a actually 3.5 inch by 2 ReadyLift on here. So mine's a little bit higher, but the stock truck doesn't come this height. It's actually relatively low for off-roading, in my opinion. I mean, if you're out on a trail and you're driving over rocks and roots and all that kind of stuff and dipping down into ruts, you're probably going to have a problem underneath. So I think realistically, every Tacoma that's built as off-road should come with at least a 3.2 lift. Next up, the tires that come with the truck. Now, I happen to have more aggressive tires on mine, right? I mean, look at the tread in these things. You could drive over all kinds of stuff in these things. But that's not typically what the Tacoma comes with. It comes with an off-road tire, or an all-season tire, I should say. Something more like what's on the Jeep right there, which is a whole nother discussion on a Jeep. But anyway, they come with a tire that's more like this. I mean, look at the tread. There's hardly anything in there, and it's not very aggressive. It's almost like a slick compared to what I have now on the Tacoma. I think if Toyota's going to build the Tacoma as an off-road capable truck, it needs to come with more aggressive tires at any trim level that's built as an off-road truck. Next up, steps. And this can be a little bit controversial, I guess, because a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people say you should have sliders, you shouldn't have steps, because these things can catch. Now, I don't completely disagree with that, depending on what kind of terrain you're in. I mean, if you're a big-time off-roader and you're driving in remote trails that have things sticking out on the sides, maybe roots or rocks that jut out or whatever, you want to be streamlined. You want to be smooth down the sides, and that's where sliders come in. And you know, a true off-road vehicle should have sliders. They shouldn't have anything hanging down here on the sides. Not so much because of the height necessarily, but because these things can grab anything that might be jutting out from the edges, right? And you know, these are just bolted in underneath here. It's not like they're fastened to the frame or anything. So they're going to give. Either your area that's bolted in is going to bend up, or these things are going to bend and break themselves. So they really need to come with either nothing, I think, or sliders on the sides to be able to protect the truck for more heavy off-roading. Next up, number 4, let's talk about low-hanging fruit. Let's look down the truck right across there. And I'm looking for things that hang down. You know, things that can grab, things that can be ripped off when you're out off-roading. So let's walk down the truck a little bit and take a look. First of all, and I don't know why they did this, we'll crawl underneath here. If you look at the exhaust, it's just slightly low. It hangs just below this cross member here. It's the perfect thing for something to go up underneath in between here, you know, right in this area here, and grab. If something juts up in there and grabs onto this exhaust, you're going to have a problem, and they're not far off. Why in the world did Toyota not raise this up? They have room. There's a little shield here. It only needs about another 1.5 to 2 inches, and that would get this pipe here up out of the way. Why is it hanging down? I don't know. Going back here in the back, And this is something that I've done and maybe something to be aware of if you're lifting your truck. But look at these bolts that we've got hanging down here now. This is kind of on me. These can catch. That's going to be a problem. The towers here for the shocks, they hang down here lower than almost anything else on the truck. I mean, the last thing you want to do is bend up or grab onto these and damage a shock or rip a shock off. That's not good. So those couple of things, and they're only two little minor things. Why did Toyota not go ahead and raise that exhaust? They did make it flat. I guess that's good. Maybe it'll ride over anything that you happen to come across down there. Next up, plastic. This is number 5. Plastic covers. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Plastic covers and cheapo skid plates. Now, I've changed the skid plate on the front here. I went with the TRD. It's almost a 1/4 inch thick. It's going to take a lot to really tear this thing up. I think you'd almost break the metal before you would bend it. It's that strong. What came with the truck were those little flimsy maybe 1/8 inch thick, I don't know, steel plates. There's nothing to them. They weigh nothing, easily could be bent up or ripped off. Just not a very good solution, I think. The trucks that are off-road should come with the TRD skid plate. I know it's an aftermarket thing and Toyota wants you to buy them and spend even more money between buying it and having it installed. But come on, it's billed as an off-road truck. It should have the support and the protection that it needs underneath. Now, speaking of that, let's move on back. One thing that really cracks me up here is the gas tank. You guys can see here, we do have a cover over the gas tank right here. Barely. I mean, it's there. It's plastic. It does hang down a little lower here in the front, so it could catch stuff. I have actually seen people that have ripped these off before. They're just held on by some little bolts here. I mean, how difficult would it be to catch the front lip of this, either with a rock or a tree root or something like that, and just rip this thing right off. And while we're speaking about that, right up here behind it is the plastic gas tank. How easy would that be to puncture if you're going to go ahead and get through this little plastic cover right here? Not very difficult, I don't think. This needs to be metal. And again, there are aftermarket solutions for this. You can get aftermarket metal skid plates. But shouldn't it come that way from the factory, right? It's supposed to be an off-road truck. Now, one other thing I noticed, and I did want to point out, the skid plate I mentioned earlier, the stock skid plate is about the same thickness as this little plate here. They did give us some protection here. It is a little bit of a skid plate, if you will, but look at the thickness of this. Not much. Although, in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to get up into this, you've probably already destroyed a lot of what's down here. So I don't know if that's really a big issue. I just wanted to get on here, kind of talk about that a little bit. Honestly, most people aren't going to take their truck off-road anyway, so it's probably not going to be an issue. But if you're being realistic and you are going to use the off-road 4x4 function of the Tacoma as it's built, I mean, when you see the commercials and things for it on TV, they're always in some kind of harsher environment, putting it through its paces. But I wonder how many of those trucks have actually been damaged during those tests. I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you agree. Is the stock Toyota Tacoma really off-road worthy? I don't know. Also, real quick, if you haven't before and you're interested, check out my other channel. It is RobMotive, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Also, one more thing, if you wouldn't mind, on your way out, go ahead and hit that subscription bell. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.